Before we begin this one, let's get this thing straight out there. There is no world, nor universe, nor dimension where I am able to defeat the Kulve Taroth. I couldn't do it. And the fact of the matter is that even if I usually do what I would do in these types of scenarios where I collect as much of the available footage as I have, it still wouldn't be long enough for a video. So, just this one time, let's cheat and see what a full hunt of Kulve Taroth would be under normal circumstances, so we can fully appreciate the monster's design. Kulve Taroth is an amazing piece of a monster. Needless to say, I actually incredibly love her, not only for her meme status in the community, as well as the conceptual idea behind the Kulve Taroth and how it just looks. This golden, absolutely golden monster, literally rolled into metal and gold to rob herself and make a cape of herself to be that way. Not only that of the meme of the Great Jairus itself, which would be the greatest of the Jagras, that became the Kulve Taroth. I like it. I like the idea that she hide in the caves of El Dorado in order to make her more potentially a filthy rich monster, you could say. The lore behind it is quite fun, and there's a lot of scenarios here where I would say that Kulve Taroth was done incredibly well as a conceptual idea. Not only that, I believe that artistically speaking, the map of El Dorado is phenomenal. I think the caves are great. I think her theme is unbelievably good. Guys, if you want to have a quick listen, like 5 minutes of an incredible orchestral rendition of a just like filthy rich monster theme that's somehow elegant as well as fairly tumultuously scary and really present the grandiose of like the richness in behind all of that. I would love it if you would do that just to go check it out. It's about 4 minutes long of a theme. It is worth it. With that said, let's move on to what Kulve Taroth actually is. She was originally designed to be a siege monster. Now, what does that mean? That means that she was designed with the idea of having many people being part of this quest at all time. She was never designed to be intended to be taken on solo hunts. She was mostly designed to be taken into multiplayer scenarios with a lot of outside elements outside of this, meaning that a lot of the moves here are intended to be able to have wide-reaching attack to affect multiple people at the same time, which is unfortunately just a passing of the torch that happened between high rank and master rank, where you could actually take her on solo and actually being able to kill her. Previously, if you fought Kulve Taroth in high rank, it was nearly impossible to take her on solo. It was doable, but considering that it was a siege quest and the factors of that quest to begin with, the only reason why you needed to fight her was to take her horns off of her. The pacing of it was different. You had to waste about 2 hours just collecting footprints and golden scales to just have her last long enough in this goddamn place where you had actually a shot at this, and it was just really annoying to deal with. The mastering version is a more straightforward version of the fight I would recommend to everybody, and not only that, also for the skills and the armor as well as the weapon she gives you. With that said, how the fight works is that it works through phases of health threshold. So the Kulve Taroth will alternate between phases as appropriate to our health pool. As you just saw at the beginning of the fight, I had a focus on her chest to begin with, since if you aim the chest and break it as soon as you possibly can, you will force her into a state of molten armor. As you can see, her armor is all slick and juicy and very tangibly liquefied. And that only makes sure that our hit zones are that much more weaker because of so. It also makes so that you can shave her health a lot faster, because she still has the ability to escape the terrain if you are not very careful about how you go about this quest. Shaving up as much part as possible, and of course aiming for the head, since they are extremely juicy. Woo! Woo! So, basically how it works is that if you do not aim for the chest, what will happen is that Kulve Taroth will switch in between her regular phase and her molten phase of her abilities at 80% HP. Once you get down to 70% HP, she molts off her entire cape and begins to retreat in order for you to get to the second area, which is the lava-rigged area, along with all the stalactites. And once you beat her down to 40% HP in this specific area, she will move on to the next. So it's an extremely phase-driven fight. With that said, I like the idea of this. It's something that we'll see a little bit more in the Raging Brachydios episode, something that we'll see more tomorrow in the Safi Jiva episode, and something that we'll also see a little bit more in the penultimate livestream that we will have in about a week or so of time, when the Fatalis stream will come along. Don't forget to pop in on that, March 23rd at 9 a.m. So, keep your clutch hanging for this one, eh? With that said, the original siege, like I said, was terribly paced because it was done in pursuit levels where you had to get tracks and golden traces of the Kulve Taroth in order to advance the siege to make her last longer and have higher bug breakability so she wouldn't have the intention to escape. Mastering still has this, but instead of just being a general, I'm fucking bored, could you guys not hang around my area for a while and she just escape? It's all about DPS check. So if you're not able to deal a certain amount of damage to the Kulve Taroth, you're not able to down her to 70% health, by the time, I believe by the 7 or 8 minute mark, she will flee and escape, because she's just like, you guys are boring me, I'm just bloody leaving. So I like this idea. Maybe it's not done probably the best, but I still like it quite a bit. Be careful while you're in phase 2 of the mastering version of the quest and phase 3 of the original high rank quest, because if you are standing in this area, you will need to have cold rings in order for you to not get constant sustained damage on you. If you have armor pieces that can take away of this is wonderful. And again, it's just more of an annoying than actually a big survivability issue for our characters to begin with, but it is fairly doable. The most devastating attacks that Kulve Taroth had during her first phase that you need to watch out for is the sushi roll that is commonly referred to in the community, where she basically rolls on her back. The longer you go in the fight, the faster she is because she shed off the weight of her golden cape, which, to be fair, that would be extremely heavy to be say so. So I'm not calling her out or anything, I'm just saying I kinda get it. She gets a lot more agile, a lot more furious, her strikes become that much more dangerous, and you will also see that she will be using a lot of her fiery breath, and the look of it is incredible. It's literally like if you're playing The Floor is Lava, and it's great. Sweeping beams of fire burning across the walls as they're melting upon the gold of the caves of El Dorado, and it's great. The look is amazing, the attacks have this distinct power. Look at that river of lava. God, that river of gold melting upon the fires of the Kulve Taroth. I love the look of this. I don't believe a single person has the right to say that this fight looks bad. It is something that will stand up across time in the Monster Hunter franchise as being unbelievable looking. It is extremely dangerous. Staying in those pools of lava will absolutely shred you to pieces if you even stand in these. They're incredible at distancing and zoning multiple people at the same time, watching out for what is the correct part of the body that you should aim for in order to have a decent time. The slam dunks that she just crushes her fist even harder into the ground as gold pours out of that hole that she made herself of. God, such a beautiful, absolutely gorgeous looking fight. The looks, and once again, I said this at the beginning, but I will repeat myself, the conceptual idea behind the Kulve Taroth is not just phenomenal, it is absolutely gorgeous. It's done so unbelievably well. If it was phenomenal, you'd just be like, that's great. The fact that it's done so well and it perceives this idea of the monster so fantastically is what makes it great. With that said, there are a lot of ways to help you in this fight to make it somewhat easier. Despite all the widespread attacks and AoE zoning, there's a lot of ways to mitigate the ability of the Kulve Taroth. First of all, clutch calling with the Kulve Taroth is extremely easy. The bigger a monster is, the easier it is to clutch claw it, because he will go a further distance if you try to wallbang the monster. And in the case of the Kulve Taroth, well, it's such a big monster to begin with that it should be a very easy task to do. Not only that, getting two wall bangs in one unenraged phase is also relatively easy and one of the easiest openings you can do during the first phase of the Mastering Quest, personally speaking. Not only that, in the phase that we were just with, there were stalactites on on the ceiling of the cave that you could drop on top of the Kulve Taroth, making the fight significantly easier, also getting down some juicy knockdown time. The main thing you should be aiming for if you are a melee user while fighting Kulve Taroth is trips. You need to aim for trips, and granted the mastering version of the fight does something significantly better that wasn't done in the original, which is you don't have to aim specifically for the horn. If you'd like the fight to end, you can aim for several things at the same time. The main thing you should watch out though during the last phase of the Kulve Taroth is when she will light up the ceiling, dropping pockets of gold on top of you, as if rocks fell off, just kind of like in the Safi'jiiva episode that we'll see tomorrow. You will absolutely find it wonderfully executed. And there's a specific move that's gonna come on very soon, when you will see her crawling all over that central pillar as the room just drops with rocks, completely covered, just like chocolate, just like something that you drop hot chocolate on and it just oozes from the sides. It's such a good look. Look at this! Gold melting off the ceiling because of the heat of the Kulve Taroth as she body slams you into the ground with her own body weight. And again, as gold pours and oozes out of every cracks and nooks of that cave. It's just like if you just tried to belly flop into a pool of oozing chocolate. It looks wonderful and tasty at the same time. Oh, I love. I cannot repeat that enough. And look at that move right there. God, that's so beautiful! Who wouldn't fall for this as being one of the best attacks in the game? It's up there, and it's not because it's devastating or absolutely like a oh fuck we're about to die moment like Eschaton Judgment for the Elatrion, which we will see that by the way, or Safi'jiiva in Sapphire of the Emperor, which we will see tomorrow. It's just a beautiful attack. It doesn't put anybody out of danger as much as it is just a, okay everybody, go back into defensive positions, take your potions, take your max potion, buff yourself up. We have a couple of seconds before the Kulve just goes back in the fight. The body slam is significantly dangerous, especially if you're a melee user, since you want to get those trips as much as possible. Downtime for the Kulve Taroth is extremely long. If you're Dual Blades main, you may have time to get 3 full demon dances off, true demon dance on the Kulve Taroth because she's down so long. And not only that, if you aim for the head, you will get maximum value out of this. Like, I'm not kidding, Kulve Taroth is so extremely weak on the head, especially starting phase 2, that you will find it somewhat ridiculous how actually weak she potentially is with that. Which is a shame to say because she looks very mighty, but even so, let's go into the math real fast. So, with an average of 46, that doesn't seem like it's that bad. It actually seems very, very good. It is on the high end of what we've seen in terms of hit zone value thus far. The head is at 25. Remember, that's the head when completely dry at the beginning of the fight. As soon as you see that the head is molten, it pops up to a fantastic 60. And when the head, you start breaking the horns off of the head, it goes up to 80. Ridiculous, I tell you. Same thing when she's completely naked. The head becomes at an 80 hit zone value. It's so unbelievably weak of a part. it might just be one of the weakest hits on value in the entire game. Now, we're not coming up as far as like the Dodogama level 2 rock, but it's getting up there. If you look at everything else, the breast at 50, which is the best possible location you can aim for before her cape becomes molten. Body at 25, the body when molten at 60, the front legs when they are exposed at 50, the four limbs at 25, the full limbs when they are molted 60. There are differences in there. Just so we're clear, the front limbs is where like the hanging part of the goal would be when she has her cape, the hind legs at 40, the tails at 25, when molten at 60, and if you look at everything when she's naked, she is an extremely juicy monster. You will get some awesome damage number on these, even more than on the Volcana's head, which is ridiculous considering that Volcana has such a high elemental weakness. And if you look at the elemental weakness of the Kulve Taroth, 50 on the head when naked for elemental weaknesses is insanely high. I believe that is the single highest value of elemental weakness in the game. I may be wrong on this, but I'm pretty sure it's up there, at least it being in the top 3 of elemental weaknesses in the entire game. You could say the same thing about thunder resistance too when the head is molten during phase 1 of the fight in the Mastering version. Insane! So really, you will get incredible damage out of the Kulve Taroth. You just gotta keep the pressure on and know how to deal with the AoE attacks. If you know how to do this, you will have a fantastic time with the Kulve Taroth because it is like an elegant dance of brutality. She will absolutely smash you to the ground like a swan trying to kick you in the bloody ass face. The Kulve Taroth is a great fight. I really enjoyed the idea behind the developers coming in, updating the monster so it could be taken onto a mastering version, and making her the best possible monster that the Kulve Taroth could have been made, that unfortunately didn't pan out to be in high rank, and made her one of the best fight to grind in Iceborne. Genuinely, one of the best fight to get armor, to get weapons out of. And also the idea of upgrading your weapons through the mastering version of the original weapons you gotten back in all the way in high rank, making them incredibly relevant, is really, really cool. As she falls, we shall move on to another monster. With that said, she was incredible, and we'll see you all on another hunt.